All right, so there's going to be an interesting behavior with reactive extensions that might not be so obvious and could easily cause you to tear your hair out while working with reactive extensions. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create this new file. This is just, the first part of this video isn't actually coding anything that we're doing in the video or for the project. It's just me demonstrating this issue. So I'll just call this _issue.js. And then I'm going to take this console window here and I'm going to hit Control C and I'm going to say nodemon issue. So we can watch this. Unfortunately, I won't be able to use ES 2015 features here, but that's not going to change what you're about to see. So let's say I'm going to say var rx equals require RxJS. And let's go ahead and create a hot observable. So we'll say hot, we'll say hot equals rx dot observable dot interval on 1 second. And we'll do something like publish, and then we'll say hot.connect, right? So now we can say hot.subscribe I goes into console log 1I, and then we can do 2I. So save that out. And so now we'll just get 1, 2, and they're both subscribed to the exact same observable. In fact, I can prove that by setting set timeout and coming here and putting it at a 2-second delay and then saying 3. So when I save this out, we'll get 1, 2, 1, 2, and then 3. 2 seconds wasn't enough. Let's do 3 seconds. And then when 3 pops in, he gets those same values. He gets the 3 that was put in there. And so the basic example of a hot observable, what I'm simulating here is the subscription to this interval rate. And what I'm simulating is the a event handler on a socket.io connection. So what if let's say in 6 seconds, what if I subscribed to this again and I said throw new error, what now? What if I did that? What do you think would happen? Well, you'd think that this subscription would terminate. Obviously, we threw an error straight up there. It's going to end. But you wouldn't think it would affect 1, 2, or 3, right? Because this observable is just sitting there pumping out values. It's a hot observable. It doesn't care if anybody's subscribed to it or not. It doesn't care if 1,000 people are, or 2 people are, or 0 people are. So what do you think would happen here? Well, what I think should happen here is this subscription gets terminated, but it doesn't affect these others. And you can probably guess where I'm going with this. Let's do node issue, and let's wait for 6 whole seconds. Maybe that was a bit too long. Boom. It died. The reason it died was because that error that I threw was propagated all the way back up the call stack. In fact, you can see it right here. Or maybe you can't really here because the line numbers aren't right. But the point is that that exception is going all the way up into this hot observable, into this interval generator function. And when you throw an exception in a set interval, what happens? Your set interval is destroyed. It gets disposed. Or rather in the case of reactive extensions. So how do we fix this? How do we go about making it so that when we throw an error, it doesn't affect the other subscriptions? And why would this matter? I mean, if we threw an error in a subscription, you'd think that's a programming error and that's a bug that we should fix. Why does it matter that it breaks other things? Well, imagine this. Imagine in our source client components chat, that inside of, user, that inside of this comp subscribe, we had a bug while we were developing. We accidentally made an exception happen, and then we saw that there was an error. We fixed the error, then we hit Control S, and HMR comes into play and reloads the module. But when on that broken version of the module, that exception was thrown, all of those subscriptions were terminated across the entire application, and those sequences were finished. Meaning that even if we resubscribe, we're not going to get any data. And that really it really causes an issue with the whole hot module reloading, and it also causes an issue with any sort of observables that can be subscribed to by many aspects of your application. You generally do not want you to be able to destroy unrelated or damage the integrity of unrelated pieces of your software with a localized error. That's my argument for it. The maintainers of RxJS don't agree for some reason, and as a result, we have this behavior. So how do we fix it? Well, fortunately, we can kind of code this in ourselves. So what I'm going to do is I'll just show you guys in the context of this little sample application how I would go about doing this. I'm going to say rxobservable.safeSubscribe. And he's going to take in a next, error, and complete. And whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. I want to say observable.prototype.safeSubscribe equals function. Next, error, complete. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say const subscription equals this.subscribe. And I'm going to pass in my own next item. And then I'm going to pass in the error and then the complete. And for this, I'm going to say try, catch E. And for try, I'm going to say next. Oops, I do need to capture the item. I'm going to say next item. And then catch E is going to console error out E. Or how about E stack or E? And then say subscription unsubscribe. And then return my subscription. So now, on my last hot subscribe, if I instead do safe subscribe and set that up, let's see what happens. So we get 6 seconds in, and we get an error, hot.safeSubscribe is not a function. That's not how you spell safe. I'm sure you guys get the point of what's going to happen. We're now wrapping our stuff in a try block so that we don't accidentally break things. And check that out. Now our subscription doesn't affect everything else. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this code up a little bit. I'll bring that over there, and I'll bring that up there, and then I'll do that. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to open up shared, and I'm going to create a new file called Observables, or operators, JS. I'm going to paste it in here, and then I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to import observable from RxJS. And now we have a way to do safe subscribe. So now you would want to add that into your code base. Of course, we now need to import our operators into both our server and our client. And that's pretty straightforward to do. On the server, I'm going to jump up to server.js, and I'm going to, I guess before we import observable socket, I'm going to import shared operators. Now notice how I'm importing, but I'm not capturing any variables. I'm just literally executing the file, which is going to add itself to the observable prototype. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the client. I'm going to client and then go to the entry point, which is application, scroll up to the top, and before we import our Sass, I'm going to import shared operators. And the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open up our lib component, and instead of doing a subscribe args, I'm going to do a safe subscribe args. All right, so let's see if this worked. I'm going to come up here and say gulp dev. And while that's loading up, let's go ahead and take a look at our users list. So our components, users, users.js. Let's open up Chrome, and we see our users already reconnected, but let's do a refresh just to make sure that it got its new operators and all that fun stuff. Then I'm going to throw an error here. I'm going to say throw new error, whoa, hit Control S. It'll get reloaded, and ESLint will throw another fit. Let's do that at the end so ESLint stops throwing a fit. All right, notice how we got our error. So we saw our error. But if I fix that error by removing that and hitting Control S, notice how we get our new awesome component added in right there. without having to resubscribe to anything. It just magically works. The subscriptions, the hot observables don't die. But yeah. So that's fixing that issue. And I guess we'll see you guys in the next video.